I don't know what I'm doing with this, but it's not a very flattering, not very flattering lighting, to be sure. Oh well. I say this with a very heavy heart, okay? Like truly, you don't have to believe it, but ultimately I'm on the side of humanity and I think life is precious, okay? And I hate suffering. I just hate it. I hate suffering, especially when it's seedless. I hate it. It doesn't matter who's suffering. I hate it. But honestly, what you do to another people, everything you do to other people, at the very end of it all, you will be made to know the same consequences, if not worse, depending on how many times you extended your warranty, so to speak. Okay? What you do to another people, you inevitably sow the seeds to your own people's inevitable futures. That's just the nature of the world. It is. You force Palestinians to experience starvation, food insecurity, skin being burned alive, blown off limbs, lack of medical supplies, no place to call their own, no allowance to adhere to any identity that's meaningful or recognized on a global scale. Well, I am sorry to report that by Allah's grace, okay, because Allah gives and He takes, okay, they are the ultimate judge at the end of the day. Your people will know starvation. Your people will know no peace or security. They already don't, let's be honest. They already do. Under circumstances that were needless, basically. But now it actually will be a situation where it won't be helped. People starved when there was food in your grocery stores, and that was already unacceptable. So in a way, it's also for that, okay? But now, your own people, because you refuse to let Palestinian people, especially children, get food, get access to clean water, have a roof over their head, any place to go where they're not bombed. Your people are going to suffer these consequences because of your relentlessness. Because for what? For pride? Because you're in too deep? You always stand to lose more. And it's almost a game to you to see how much more you can lose. How much, well, I lost everything important anyway, so what's one more thing? You have no idea. Your own people will be displaced. You will be an orphaned children on this earth. You will be known as the colonialists who did nothing but take from the greatness of other nations, including the Americas. You tout the American identity like it was ever really yours, when you were really just the byproduct of Britain. You came here to seek freedom. The only freedom you know how to experience is one where you just take it from other people. Because you secretly admire what Britain does. It's just that you wanted to be another Britain. You didn't like being Britain's bitch, so you wanted to just be another Britain instead of just choosing to be better. It's the lands will go back to the people who have the most, I don't want to say ownership, because we all have the right to live on this planet, okay? You're the only ones who created the paradigm where people had rights to certain land, okay? That's absurd. It was never yours to give away, but they allowed you to anyway, so that you could see how far you would take it, honestly. Indigenous peoples will be the recognize as, whatever identity of America is left, okay? I mean, as far as I'm aware. You will be an orphan children. You will have nothing to cling to but your whiteness, which in itself is a curse because it's an imaginary concept and is meaningless. It is a socially constructed idea for political and financial power, and that's it. For a false sense of supremacy over other people that seems to change depending on who you ask and where you are and what time of day it is. And because you clung to falsehoods like that, that's the only thing you will own. Empty claims. And the worst part is, and maybe it's in some ways it's a blessing, the people who have to bear the responsibility of their people and their forefathers' crimes of under the white supremacy thing, colonialism, they will be relieved to not be associated with you anymore. It will be a blessing for them to be orphaned from you. Then, for some, it will actually be perceived as salvation to be an orphan children because of how shameful your empire will have been in the footnotes of history. How absolutely unparalleled in its brutality and utter violence and barbarism and savagery. All for the privilege of being able to sink a person's face into the mud without consequence. So that you could have chips on demand. For what? What was it? You'll find that these things that you thought were so worth feeding, this endless demand for blood and suffering in the world, which has never been necessary. You created that paradigm. And you created these narratives even to yourself so that you could be more comfortable with your evilness. There has always been cruelty and evilness on this earth, it's true. We've never been able to take it as far as we do now, and you are going to hold the crown for that. The crown of blood and slavery that is unparalleled to any other time in human history, even though you had every resource available to you to be better and not be as bad as the people who came before you. Because you force people to know starvation, you will know starvation. Because you force people to shed their family names, to not keep track of any of their knowledge or any of their roots, you too will suffer the same consequence. And you will have no one on this earth that you can blame anymore but yourselves. And some of you will simply, willingly give up everything about your families out of the pure shame that you feel as the ones who robbed your own people their best possible future. But guess what? Their best possible future is still available to those who want it badly enough. Okay? As long as you can let go of the idea of you have to be on top of, you have to be shoving someone else's face in the mud. If you can get rid of these ideals that somebody has to be on top, then you'll be fucking happy. But some of you will never be satisfied with that. And that's why you don't stop. And that's why you're going to lose everything. You are so obsessed with making sure you have everything so nobody else has anything that you will end up with nothing yourselves. Because that is honestly the only way, if it was ever possible for any of this message to get through to you, what you do to anything in this life, you will be made to know somewhere down the line. And again, depending on how far you took it and how many times you extended your fucking warranty, I'm sorry to say it that way, you will know it that much worse. At least for those of us, it was hard, but we could do it over a longer period of time. You don't have the stamina And you made the deal where you would experience it all at once, because that's the nature of like Faustian bargains. And those are the ones you made. You knew you were making Faustian bargains and somehow still believed you were being a warrior of God. I don't understand this. You knew you were entering deals with black magic, with, utilizing these things. Well, we have to use it because they're using it. And this, we have to do what no one else is willing to. No, you didn't. You'd never once had to do these things. Why were you so willing to believe them? I'll tell you why. Because it speaks to a deeper selfishness. This wasn't about the greater good. It was because it spoke to a feeling of self-importance in you. Let me tell you something. Okay? A lot of people want to be famous, not because they actually want to be famous. It's because we live in a world where so many people are not seen for all of the pain they endure. They just want to feel seen. That's it. Once people have that, they will shed these weird beliefs that tells them, like, if they're just famous and rich, they'll be happy. Because that's not ultimately what they want. They think they want that because that's what you have. That's the illusion you have provided with. But it's not true. Once people have their needs taken care of, like, even, let me tell you, you can contribute to this world just by being alive and not hurting anybody. It is. You don't have to have a grand calling. Okay, let me tell you something. There's just a long time ago, I was so depressed. I was recovering from mass depression, okay? And even this helped me years into the future from killing myself. Just this one memory. There was just this random Jordanian guy walking down the street, minding his own business, not particularly flattering looking. He's just a casual guy. He's wearing sweatpants, whatever. He's eating shawarma. He's just eating. My brother just said, hey, look at that guy. I was like, yeah? I was like, he's Miyazaki's brother. No, you didn't make fun of him or anything, but it was just such a non sequitur that I wasn't expecting, that it just like made me laugh a lot, to the point where it was annoying my stepmother. And that's like, what is the point of this? The point is, it was like that one memory I had sometimes was enough to get me to stop pulling the trigger. Just from this one guy existing in the right place at the right time for my brother to make some weird non sequitur that I would revisit. He kept, just from him being there in that time and place, doing nothing but casually walking and eating a shawarma and enjoying his life in that way, he might have saved my life. That's fucking powerful. When you tell yourself lies like you have to be willing to do A, B, and C to save your people and your country or whatever, you are in danger of committing the worst wrongs this world has ever seen. Because it comes from a sense of you don't feel that you're enough, so you have to overcompensate. That's all colonialism is. That's all this weird insecurity of whiteness is. It's this feeling where you don't feel comfortable within yourself and what you have actually been capable of accomplishing or whatever. You look to other nations and what they have accomplished in their history. So what do? You try to rob them of their history and take what made them great, because you can't be burdened with the same responsibility of fucking figuring it out yourselves. Not because you were less, but because you perceived yourself as less when comparing yourself to the greatness of others. You robbed yourself of your own greatness by telling yourself it's because these people are great that I'm not great, so let's destroy them. When you destroy other people's ability to succeed, you destroy your own ability to succeed at the end of the fucking day. So let that sink in. Let it be known that whatever happens, you know exactly at what juncture you personally made certain choices that led up to this future, that you personally assisted with. It's the butterfly effect. The smallest decisions can have the biggest changes down the line. Every time you signed off on permission to mine, every time you signed off on looking the other way with so-and-so, every time you looked the other way when a cop killed a black man, every damn time you did shit like that, every time you got into shady deals with weird Masonic people or whoever the fuck, even... honestly, I have to ask you too, if you really believed you were on God's side, why didn't you believe you were protected by God and you were afraid of what these people could do to you with their magic? Why were you so afraid of them if you really believed we were doing God's work, that God wouldn't just protect you? I mean, maybe if you falsely did, I don't know, but that should have said something to you. It should have woken you up in some way. But you know why? It's not because you couldn't wake up. It's because it was too scary to see what was there in front of you. So you kept your eyes closed. You wanted to keep believing in a dream that shielded you from the horrors of the nightmares you were helping to facilitate and maintain. It's easier to believe in the lie that humans are inherently cruel than to believe that it's only cruel because people like you insist it should be cruel. So whatever happens to the American people, God bless the ones who care about each other, and in spite of everything will still share their food with each other. Those are the people who will inherit whatever is left, whatever you have the stones to leave them. Honestly, it doesn't look like much, quite frankly. You're stealing farmland. You're being so blatant about it now. You just don't want to face the consequences of your actions. And honestly, I don't blame you for being scared, but at the same time, you never had the stones for leadership if you would have been scared by that. Because you should be confident enough in your own skills to lead that you shouldn't be afraid of your people like that. If you were actually doing your job and serving your people, you shouldn't feel afraid of what they'll do to you. So let that sink in. And again, I can't speak for everybody. You all have different journeys, okay? Some of you are, can be saved still. It depends. It's not up to me. It's up to you at the end of the day. It's at the But, stop blaming other countries. Like, oh, it's Russia's fault. Oh, it's this. No. This is purely because you, yes, you, were selfish fucking assholes. To the point where you would rob your own people of their wealth. And the one thing that you keep pushing for the sake of real estate markets, oh, the one security you have is your land. You buy property, buy property. Well, guess what? You don't own that either. We can just take it whenever we want. Instead of looking to have them share with you, you would just take everything from them. There are communists out there who care more about your people than you do. Let that sink in.